Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Verses 6 to 15, please.
Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanamishwaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavam yatma mayaya yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyutthanamdharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritrāṇāya sadhūnām vināṣāya ca duṣkritāṃ dharma samsthapanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna vitaraga bhaya krodhaha manmaya mamupashritaha Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhava magataha ye yatha mam prapadyante tamstathaiva bhajamyaham mama vatmanuvartante manushyaः partha sarvashah Kāṅśantah karmanām siddhim yajanta iha devatāha kṣipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhāgaṣah Tasya kartaramapi mam vidhya kartaramavyayam namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yobhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate Evam jnātvā kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmātvam purvaih purvataram kritam.
Yesterday we discussed that there is a truth, a reality, and that truth, that reality is your essential nature, not what you understand yourself to be today. So the whole message of the Bhagavad Gita is to discover who you essentially are. Why do we need to do this? Because you are human. And as a human, you have a duty, an obligation, not just to live in this world and to find something to do with yourself, preoccupy yourself with a job or profession or business, and then to raise a family and take care of that family that you raise, and be satisfied that you have taken care of every member in that family. These are all your duties, no doubt. But that is not everything in life. There is something far, far more important, for each one of us. These are necessary duties, necessary obligations. Just as you would take care of your physical body, you feed yourself, you take care of your own being every single day. It's not a big deal. You ought to do that. It's something which you cannot avoid. In a similar way are your duties and obligations in this world. But far more important, far more critical is this primary duty obligation, because you are born a human, to find out why you are born a human and to discover that truth which is within you. There's nowhere else to go. However, it is not easy to live in this world, to court the world, to function in the world is far easier than to turn within and find your true self. Yet the fact remains, which we clean miss, and that is, no matter how efficient, progressive, productive, successful you may be in the world, nothing in this world can ever give you satisfaction except knowing your true nature. So the more you go into the world, the more you feel you need to do to be satisfied. And you don't find it. That's what in the Bhaja Govindam he says. A grand old man who has lived a full life, who has done everything possible, is still not satisfied. Why so? Because the search for happiness is in the wrong place. What you're seeking is right within you. And until you set that direction that we talked about yesterday, you could be anywhere on that graph of self-development. But unless you set the direction right in your life, you're never going to find what you are looking for. You know not what you seek. And what you seek is nothing to do with the world outside. That's where this knowledge becomes most important for any human who understands the value of life. It's an opportunity. And that opportunity is to find the self. So, yesterday in the last verse that we concluded, Krishna continues to talk as the pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure knowledge, which are just names for the truth, the reality, the self in you, the God principle in you. Atman, when you talk of the self within you, you say the Atman in me. When you talk of the same truth, the same reality, the divinity, with reference to the entire world, you use the word Brahman. So whether you use the word Atman, Brahman, God or God principle, the self in you, the truth, the reality, whichever word you use, there is something unknown to you today. And until you discover that, you will not rest content. Unfortunately, since we may not know this in essence, we may appreciate the idea, we may set aside a little time to do the good things in life. That much we may appreciate, the knowledge. But we may not understand that without this knowledge, you will not be able to exist in this world peacefully. It's not possible. And if you try any other method, if I get a little more wealth, a little more power, a little more name, a little more satisfaction in my profession, you may try everything else. Whatever you get, the satisfaction from those preoccupations has a shelf life. It's there for a while, it's gone. It's there for a while, it's gone. And your seeking never stops. You just move from one thing to another in the hope of finding happiness. So, Krishna talks about that truth which is within you. And he says, though unborn, of imperishable nature and Lord of beings, with reference to the self, the truth. He says, I am born. See, there seems to be a contradiction, which I did not bring up last evening, because we had already listened to a whole hour. Now you must, if anybody has gone through that last verse, and I already have a question here, I'm explaining it so that you understand it better. He starts saying unborn, and then latter part of the verse he says, I am born. It must strike us. How can he say, I am unborn and then I am born? Seems to be a contradiction. And then he explains saying, presiding over my own prakriti, I am born by my own maya. Maya is that capacity, that power. So the actual breakup of that word maya, we use it so easily. Anything you don't understand in this world, that is why we call it maya, illusion. The whole world is nothing but maya, illusion. But what about our problems? That is real. The rest of the world is maya. Everything is maya. Everything is an illusion. But we don't understand it. These are words. But when it comes to your own life, it is different. The interpretation is different. Yet we need to absorb these ideas to be able to appreciate what is being said better and better. So, Maya literally means, it's constituted of few words, Sanskrit words. Ya, ma, sa means that which is not. But you're seeing this world. How do you say it's an illusion? How do you say it's Maya? My bank balance is not Maya, illusion. My problems with my partner, children, it seems so real. It's bothering me. Every day I have to face it. How can I say it's just nothing? So to which he says, look, with reference to these manifestations, it depends on where is your attention. If your attention is upon the unborn, imperishable reality, which is the Lord of beings, then you understand that everything has no meaning. But if you're caught up in that illusion, it is difficult to accommodate the idea. Then why does he introduce this contradiction? Because you have a choice to shift your focus from where it is now to where it ought to be. He's giving you that choice. So if your focus of attention is upon the world, you clean miss the truth. If your focus and attention is turned towards the truth, you become less and less affected by what you're seeing because you suspect this cannot be real, this cannot be the truth. There's something beyond which I must know. To enable us to take that step, he's giving us this difference. It's like this. It's like the rope talking. See, there is a rope. As long as there is a rope lying in the corner of a room, there are two possibilities that instantly come up. Can anybody say what that would be? Imagine a coiled rope in the corner of a dark room. There is a rope, yes? Snake doesn't come for everybody. There are two possibilities. Sorry? Both ends. See, the fact that there is a rope, there are instantly two possibilities. And what are they? You understand the rope as a rope. That's the first possibility. And if it is in a dark corner and you don't see it clearly, it is possible not to apprehend, understand the rope as a rope. But because there is a rope lying there, there are these two possibilities. In other words, there is no possibility of misunderstanding anything here because it's empty space. There's nothing here for you to understand or misunderstand. But if there is an object, if there is something, the lights are dark and there is some object here, a big round object. You could think it is some rock that they've kept there. Or what is that? Maybe an animal sitting there. If it is dark, you're not sure. But if there is nothing, you can't say what is sitting here. If you say that, we'll have to take you to a doctor. What we're trying to say is, since a thing exists, there is a possibility of understanding it as it is. If you apprehend, there is no problem. But the moment you do not apprehend a thing as it is, the moment you don't understand there is a rope, that gives way for misapprehensions of that rope as a snake, or a crack on the earth, or anything. You don't see it as a rope. So that capacity to convert itself from a rope to a snake, he says, is my Maya. It lies in the rope. But the snake is not born, the snake does not die. It is your perception of its birth and death. What? The snake is born, the snake is gone. And how are you able to see the birth and death of the snake? Because of the existence of what? What makes you see the snake? It's the rope. If the rope wasn't there, how will you see a snake? So since the rope is, there is a possibility of understanding the rope as a rope. If you do not apprehend the rope, you could misapprehend it as a snake. That's what he's saying. Presiding over my own prakriti matter, I am born by my own Maya. So the snake is born. This whole world of manifestations that you see of things and beings comes out of that non-apprehension of the reality, which is unborn. So why does he put it in this way, this contradiction? It's in a simpler way you can understand. One more example we can give to accommodate what he's saying here. So you have come all the way from Delhi. You managed to come for the class. How did you come? I flew from Delhi. You flew? No, what I mean is I took a flight. So when you say you took a flight, you flew from Delhi, you have made a movement from Delhi to here. You moved all the way. But what were you doing on the flight? I had a sound sleep, long flight. I slept soundly. You did nothing. You did not move at all. Yet you say, I flew. Why is this contradiction? You said you flew. And then when we asked you, you said you're fast asleep. How can you be fast asleep and fly? Isn't this a contradiction? See, with reference to the aircraft, you did not move. But with reference to the world outside, you have moved from Delhi to here. So both are correct. But with reference to what? With reference to oneself, with reference to the truth is unborn. Why unborn? Because anything born must die. And the truth is that which remains. So there is neither birth nor death within yourself, within the truth. But with reference to the manifestations, he says, I am born. Why am I born? Why do you see this world? Because you do not apprehend the truth. The moment you don't apprehend the rope as a rope, you will misunderstand it for a snake or crack in the earth. So these are the 2 points of view. You must understand, where is your focus? If your focus is upon the differences in the world, the manifestations, then you will be affected by what all is going on. The right, the wrong, the good, the bad, the joy, the sorrow, honor, dishonor, all these dvandvas, you will be affected. The moment you turn introvert and seek the self, you have not even found it, that itself will give you instant relief. A relative peace of mind. That's what anyone can achieve in this classroom. And those who still pursue the truth, nothing prevents you from reaching and becoming the truth, which is the very purpose of human existence. So I hope now you have a better idea, because it's a very subtle verse that we just did last night. And we start with the 7th verse today.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam tadatmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam tadatmanam srijamyaham.
This is a famous and oft-quoted verse, O Bharata. Whenever there is indeed a decline of dharma, righteousness, and a rise of adharma, unrighteousness, then I manifest myself. So all he's stating here is a law of nature. There is a cycle, as it were. So when there is a decline of dharma, dharma in the context it's given here as righteousness, virtues, knowledge. Whenever there's a decline, a complete decline, and you are more attracted to this world of things and beings because the focus has changed. Remember, we said there is a focus. If you focus your attention upon this world of things and beings, you will be affected. And you are identifying with this personality, this body, mind, and intellect, and you believe this is it. Here am I, this individual, in contact with the world that I'm experiencing, nothing beyond. If that be your focus and attention, you will be affected by whatever you're experiencing in the world. See, you must understand, these masters, these saints, these sages in the world are also human, like any one of us. So what is the difference? Why is there a difference? Who is a sage? Who is a saint? Who is an ordinary individual? See, they took the trouble to seek and find the truth. They were not satisfied with this life here. The prince Siddhartha walked out of a palace and a family to become enlightened. What must have been that pressure? It's not that he was dissatisfied. There was that call which was so powerful. It was so clear to him that this cannot be everything. There's got to be something. And he followed that call. It wasn't an impulse. It was a clear understanding of something higher, and he found it, became it. Therefore, even to this day, he is known for his enlightenment. He is one of them. There's a Christ, there's a Krishna, there's a Muhammad, there's a Buddha, there's a Mahavira, a galaxy of sages and saints who have achieved that. And then there are the ordinary people, people of the world who have no idea of anything beyond a regular, routine, mundane existence. Wake up in the morning, go through the motions of the day, finish the day, come back in the night and sleep. What to do what? Wake up again the next morning, go through the motions of the day. How many years you have lived this life? Nobody even suspects what is beyond. Is this all? And then one day you pass, somebody passes, the rest who are left behind are mourning because that person has passed. Why did that person pass? Why did that person pass? We don't want to find out why. But we only mourn. We're upset. Not understanding this is part and parcel of life. There's life, there's death. Should we not find out what is the purpose of life? What happens after death? We don't know. Bhagwan takes us somewhere. He comes and picks us up. We have our own concepts and we're quite satisfied. It's like children. You give them stories and they're quite satisfied because there's no inquiry. That's why the Shastras refer to the mass of humanity as Balaha. Balaha means children, spiritual infants, not just crawling, trying to find out something. We've got to grow up, we've got to mature. And these concepts, these thoughts help us gain that understanding of what life is all about. So when you do not do that, it's very easy to slip into adharma. You don't need education to be indulgent, to eat more than you should. Do you need education? You go to a restaurant, happily you go in with all your family and friends. And when you come out, everybody has a frown. What is that? Appa, I shouldn't have eaten so much. You pay for your pain. Can't understand that. Why do you do that? Oh, I'm so full, I can't take any more. Okay, pack it up, I'll take it home and eat later. Even then you will not give up. Why is it that you do it so easily? Because anything adharmic is very easy. You don't need to be educated. Waste your time. Don't do anything productive. You don't need to be taught that. Automatically you'll do it. But to fight it, to fight that challenge, to work hard, to discipline yourself, to wake up in the morning, make your time useful, all that is, anything constructive is difficult. Anything destructive is very easy. That's all he's saying. So when that destruction becomes so much, it's like when you fall to the lowest point, what else can you do than rise? There's nowhere else to go. The only way is to come up. So if you fall to the bottom, there's no other way but to rise. This is a natural phenomenon. So he says, whenever there's a decline in dharma, righteousness, and there is a rise in unrighteousness, you can't take it beyond a point. It's like ill health. If you're healthy, there's no issue. But if you start allowing yourself to be unhealthy, how much can you take it? After a point, you need to go to a doctor. So it's like a doctor saying, whenever there's a decline in health and a rise in ill health, I will appear. Who? The doctor. It's as simple as that. You will seek him. You will find a doctor because you need it for your existence. So similarly, these are spiritual doctors. Who? These sages and saints. And whenever there's a decline, they appear because they know they are there only to serve humanity. They have found that truth themselves and they are only there to pass it on to those who are available. So it's only when you find that decline that you will also find an opportunity to rise and grow into that spiritual stature. That's what he's saying here. And he continues.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
For the protection of the virtuous, for the destruction of the wicked, and for the establishment of dharma, I am born from age to age. So there's never been a time when we have not had guidance in this world. Even if it's the worst of times, there will be some master who appears, some help that comes, because that is the purpose of life, to find the truth. So you will never be denied an opportunity. The only problem that could arise in life is you don't help yourself. That's the only problem. So all we're saying is wake up. That's what Vivekananda said. Wake up, arise, do something. Don't be complacent, because you're throwing away a great opportunity. In what? Doing mundane, regular things. Like we said, wake up and what have we achieved? We've taken care of the family. We have found a thing to do. Bank balance is very good. We can pass it on to children and grandchildren. We've built enough homes. We have done this. All this, we're not saying you should not. But this is minimal. In fact, every creature does it. Takes care of itself and its family. Even an ant does it. An animal does it. So, when you say you have done all your duties in the world, you have managed to live the life of an animal, a bird, an insect. Because they also do that. They have not neglected their families. Whatever is their duty, they have done it perfectly. That is all we have done. So then why are you a human? What is so special? There is something far more important that we must understand about life. That is the call. So it is for the protection of virtue. This opportunity comes, or a master comes and tells us what is the value of life. It is for the destruction of wicked. Wicked in the context. See, when we say wicked, anything other than the self is evil. Anything that is the self, when we say self, the truth, the reality, is virtuous. And for the establishment of dharma, spiritual values. So I am born from age to age. Now, you would have all, at least most of you would know, we have, what is that festival called? Dasera or Vijayadashami. What is Vijayadashami? How many days is that? Celebration. 10 days. Celebration is 10 days. But you don't know why we are celebrating. 10 days of celebration. See, in India, there are rituals and festivals that fill the whole year. And all these rituals and festivals, right from birth, there's a ritual. Till death. Death is also a ritual. It's worship, it's prayer. Every part of your life is punctuated with prayer. Almost every other month or quarter, there is a festival. All of them have only one message. Seek your own self. That's all. But we clean miss it. In fact, there is a book, Symbolism of Hindu Gods and Rituals, which explains that. Some of the festivals. Now you got to understand it. We can't be all inclusive. A few examples are given so that you understand the meaning of these festivals and rituals. It's not to spend money. It's not to get new clothes. These are all symbolic. We do everything external and miss everything internal, which is the real message. So 3 days. Tell me, what are the 3 goddesses we worship? First is who? First is Durga, goddess of destruction. 3 days Durga is worshipped. We worship the destruction of evil. First thing, the negativities have to be destroyed. What are the negativities? Not outside, inside. Anger, hatred, greed, passion, jealousy, all sorts of negative feelings and thoughts. Doubting everybody, you have all sorts of negative impressions. You only talk ill of others. There's so much good in the worst of us. There's so much bad in the best of us. Why do we engage in these things? So each one is a combination of good and bad. What are you? Nobody is perfect, which means there is a combination. So leave the bad alone. If there are negativities, let that person sort out his or her own problems. You pick up the good. That's all you need to do. But you will go and fidget with the bad or negative and get hurt. Whose fault is it? It's like putting finger in the fire and saying, it's burning, it's burning. Who asked you to put the finger in the fire? Knowing it's fire. This person is always critical about me, and that person you will listen, what all he says, and then get hurt. It is critical, all right. If it makes sense, take it. Yes, he said a couple of things which is correct, take it. If it is wrong, you say his understanding is wrong, poor fellow. Leave him alone. So, at all levels, there are negativities that you contact, destroy them. Once you do that, then the next 3 days, who do you worship? So that you pick up good values. You must pick up good values in life. And when you pick up these good values, then you gain knowledge of the higher. Saraswati. Knowledge of the higher will help you move in the right direction. And when you move in the right direction, your desires are destroyed. Your ego is reduced. And that is why on the 10th day what is done? There is a huge effigy that is burnt. The 10th day. Meaning the ego is so vast, so big. After you have gone through this process of destroying negative, improving the positive, gaining knowledge of the higher, that ego is completely destroyed, meaning you reach your own pure divine nature. So now what are we doing and what is the significance? This is one festival. Every festival is telling us how to get back to your original nature. So, for the protection of the virtuous, destruction of the wicked, establishment of dharma, I am born from age to age. So nobody is denied this path to the truth. Each one ought to help themselves.
Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sojuna Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sojuna.
He who knows thus my divine birth and action in true light, having abandoned the body, is not born again. He comes to me, O Arjuna. I'm cautioning you again, when Krishna says, comes to me, he means what does Krishna mean? The truth, the reality, the self, your original nature, your true dharma. So you find your true identity. Today your identity is like a river. You've got a personality, a physical personality, which is your outer personality, and an inner personality, which is your mind and intellect. This is what each one understands himself, herself to be. Your outer and inner personality. But there is such a thing as your real personality. Your outer and inner personalities are subject to change. There is a birth, there is a death. But your real personality is constant. And all that you do in life is only to seek the real personality. But since you do not know this, since you're ignorant of what this truth is, what your real personality is, you are seeking you know not what. You are out in the world trying to find something. Samuel Johnson, see, he puts it in a different way. The same seeking. We seek, what we seek in the world is what we want to find, will find within ourselves. So he says, this is what we are all preoccupied, finding various things to do in life. And he says the whole thing is a waste if you do not turn within. The fountain of content must spring up in the mind, meaning within. And he who hath so little knowledge of human nature as to seek happiness by changing anything but his own disposition will waste his life in fruitless efforts and multiply the grief he proposes to remove. So if, he's saying, if you change anything in the world, if you try and alter anything in this world outside of you, but your own disposition, your own inner nature, whatever that is, you will be wasting your life in fruitless efforts and multiply the grief that you propose to remove. So all of us are trying to change things around us to be happy. But he says you'll only multiply your problems because it is not there outside the problem, but within you. The moment you correct yourself within, you will find the world corrected. I'll give you a simple example. I know you're not convinced because you'll say, you come home and meet my mother-in-law. Then you will change the philosophy. He's a difficult person. Or your neighbor. A fellow is annoying. How can you be peaceful with a fellow like that? Or my boss. You don't know, such an unreasonable fella. You cannot talk to him. The moment you start talking, he will not allow you to complete anything. How can you say, by at least changing that fellow, putting some sense into him, we will all be peaceful. I'm not talking for myself. I'm talking for all my colleagues in office. You have a grand program to change the world. The great Swami Ramtirtha, he says, correcting the world is like straightening a dog's tail. You know, you hold a dog's tail straight, the moment you leave it, what will happen? It will go back to exactly where it is. That's why he says, fruitless efforts. Now some of you may say, therefore should we keep quiet? Let people do what they want. All sorts of unfair practices are going on and we just watch. The world will be what it is. Now what he's saying is, you can take whatever corrective measures you need to take. Nobody is saying don't do that. But not with an idea of correcting the world. Don't let your happiness and peace rest in the fact that if others change, I will be happy. That's not possible. So one example. If on the screen, it's not there, a white screen, there is a spot, black spot. So we see a black spot and start cleaning it. Take a cloth and wipe, it doesn't go. Then we say, all right, maybe some soap and water, you try to take it off. Scrub it a little bit. Scrub it as much as you want. It doesn't go. Then you say, let us change the screen. Maybe the screen is spoiled. Change the screen. Get a brand new screen. And what do you see? Black spot again. Can anybody say why that is happening? Huh? Where is the spot? It is on the lens here. When there is a spot on the lens, only one person answered. Nobody else believes that? Because only one or two answers I get. Everybody else is awake or asleep, I'm not sure. So would you all agree that when you see a spot there on the screen, it is actually where? On the lens. So if you keep changing the screen, the spot will never go. So what do you have to do? Take a piece of cloth and clean the lens there, here rather, and the spot there is gone. Similarly, you clean the spots within you. Clean the negativities within you. You got a whole lot. That is the reference here in the Bhagavad Gita. Kauravas were 100 in number. Pandavas were 5. Negative qualities are galore, plenty. Where? You will say, in my mother-in-law. Instantly you know who has negative qualities. No, within you. Start and end with you. Let everybody handle their own personalities. It is none of our business to interfere in anybody's personality. You make yourself, you mar yourself, you got an opportunity. You are wasting your time. All the time that you spend analyzing others is exactly the time you need to look after yourself. So, if you correct the spot here, the world stands corrected. So he says, he who knows thus my divine birth and action, wherever there is this identification with the body, mind and intellect, the seed of your personality being your vasanas, there is birth. And action. All the actions that you find in the world is possible because of the inactive principle. Because there is this inactive principle in you, your whole personality comes to life. The body acts. The question must arise, how does the body act? What makes the body act? Your mind feels, but you must inquire, how is it that my mind is able to feel? Your intellect thinks. How does the intellect think? Just as this bulb, these bulbs are giving out light. How is it that these bulbs are giving out light? What enables the bulb to give out light? When you purchase a bulb in a shop, there is no light. It has everything ready. There is an encasement and the filament all there. It's a good bulb that will give out light, but there is no light. It's only when it comes in contact with the inactive principle electricity, there is an expression of light. Similarly, each one of you is manifesting life. Now how, from where do you have this expression of life? This body by itself is dead matter. You cut a finger and keep it here, it will lie here like any piece of wood or stone. But this body is full of life right now. Your mind is able to feel, your intellect is able to think, like the bulb is giving out light. How is it possible? Because there is an inactive principle, the divine spark, which is your real personality. So that is what he's saying. He who knows my divine birth and action in true light, in true essence, having abandoned this body. But abandon the body doesn't mean you abandon and you become one spirit floating somewhere. We have vague ideas. See, what he means is, the body, when he refers here, you have a body, a physical body, because of vasanas, which is the causal body. The cause of your body. Vasanas. And because of your vasanas, you have a mind and intellect, the subtle body. It's not gross like this tangible body. It's within. But it's also matter. Why body? Because the body is nothing but matter, and matter is perishable. But the spirit in you, the God principle in you, is imperishable. So when you identify with the spirit in you, not the matter vestures, you become the self. You become the truth. Thereafter, you're not subject to birth or death, because you've reached that changeless entity which is your original nature. The river has merged with the ocean. Thereafter, it becomes one vast sheet of water. There is no identity of a river. That's what he's saying. Abandons the body, is not born again. He comes to me. He becomes the self. Continues.
वीतराग भय क्रोधाः मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः वीतराग भय क्रोधाः मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः.
Freed from desire, fear and anger, absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, purified by the fire of knowledge, many have attained my being. Now, the question is, we've said that there is a truth, there is a reality. How do you get there? What is the path to the truth? He says, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Freed from desire, fear and anger. See, from your vasanas, which is the seed of your personality, arises thoughts, desires, actions. You're all acting, everybody's acting. But what type of actions are you performing? Good, bad, indifferent. How do you perform these actions? What makes you act in a particular way? It is because of the desires you have. If you have good desires, then you do good actions. If you have negative desires, negative actions, because you have a wide range of actions in this world. Even you yourself. It's not that all your actions are the same. Some are good, some are negative, some are positive. All sorts of things you do. From where do these actions come? Because the body is just a vehicle. It acts, no doubt. But it cannot act on its own. It has to be prompted by something within. Just as you come and sit here is an action. But when you ask, how come you are sitting here? What made you come here? At this action, you may have one of two answers. I like to come here, therefore I've come. Meaning your mind prompted you to come here. This is a good thing. I like these sort of lectures, so I came. Somebody who came forcefully and is sitting next to you will say, I don't like to come here. Then why did you come? I had to come because I had to obey this person. I have no choice. So you may not like to come, but something tells you, I have no choice, I better do it. Your intellect. So you could be here because of one of these two. Either your mind or your intellect. Sometimes it could be both. It could be that you believe this is good and you like it, and you also think this is something that you ought to do. Your mind and intellect both cooperate. So actions are performed by the body, but it's prompted by something within. And from where did this mind and intellect arise? From where did it come about? From the causal body, your own vasanas. In fact, each one is a package. Each one is a set of vasanas. Vasanas are nothing but unmanifest desires. Unmanifest thoughts in an unmanifest form. That is what happens to you every night. When you go to sleep, your body is at rest. In deep sleep, dreamless sleep, sometimes you wake up and say, I had very good sleep. Acha? So what did you experience? Nothing. Nothing. But you're existing. What is existing? Only your vasanas. Nothing else. That is the time when you wake up from such a sleep, you feel refreshed. Because there's no thinking, no feeling, no acting. Complete rest. When your body doesn't get deep sleep, you cannot survive without deep sleep. So what do? Put sleeping pills in. Some people live like that because they say, I can't sleep. And if you don't sleep, you cannot survive. So you have to forcefully knock yourself out. Some people take pills, others, I believe, take something liquid to knock themselves out. That also they try. But anything to knock yourself out, to not act, feel, think. What happens to you then? You're still living, but in an unmanifest form. The body is there, but there's no action. The mind is there, no feeling. Intellect is there, no thinking. Then what is happening to your personality? Only your vasanas exist. That is the seed. But the moment the vasanas start expression, there is desire, fear, anger. Desire has several modifications. So the moment you identify with the desire, you subject yourself to the modification. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. Not only fear and anger. When you get what you want, you develop greed for more. You're not satisfied. And if that greed is fed, you become arrogant because your greed has been fed. You think you are somebody and everybody else is below you. Why? Because even the greed has been fed. And then are you satisfied? Even when you're arrogant, what happens is you become envious towards those who have more than you. Arrogance is towards those who have less than you. Envious towards those who have more than you. And then does it end there? No, now that you have reached the peak, there's nothing more you get. Are you happy? Now there's fear of losing what you've got. Especially when you know the marriage of your daughter is round the corner, that fellow son-in-law, I don't know what he will demand. All that you've collected with such difficulty, you have fear of losing both the daughter and your wealth. Sometimes, in these days, it's quite common. The daughter is returned, not the wealth. The son-in-law returns the daughter. Thank you very much. Divorces. But he retains the wealth. So that fear is there. You will lose what you've got. The moment you act on desires, it is never ending. That's what he's saying. But when you turn inward and seek the self within you, you're freed from desire, fear, and anger, and all its other modifications, absorbed in me. Man mayaha. So this vita raga bhaya krodaha, how do you eradicate it? By your actions, performing right actions. In fact, that's what this whole chapter is going to be telling us about. What are these actions? The whole range of human activities can be converted into perfect actions, into worship. We will be dealing with that soon. And then he says, man mayaha, absorbed in me. This is the play of bhakti, devotion, where you surrender to something higher. You dedicate yourself to something higher, absorbed in me. And then mamu pashritaha, taking refuge in me. It is jnana, knowledge. Your intellect directs your life, your actions to what? To the goal of self-realization. So at the physical level, at the emotional level, at the intellectual level, you're completely dedicated. How is that possible? He says, by the fire of knowledge. There is no other method. Unless you understand how to function at these levels, physical, emotional, intellectual. And what will help you is the fire of knowledge. You pursue this, many have attained my being. This is the way you gain self-realization. He continues.
Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanuvartante manushyah partha sarvashah ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham Mama vartmanuvartante manushyah partha sarvashah.
With this verse, we get into the second topic, how the self relates to action. So he says here, howsoever men approach me, approach the truth, even so do I satisfy them. Men tread my path in all ways, O Partha. All paths are the path of the self, to the self. Meaning, whatever you do or don't do, you're doing it only to find satisfaction. And that ultimate peace and bliss which you're seeking is your original nature. This is what you're doing. But you may be going in the wrong direction because of ignorance. He says, however men approach me. Now you can choose what you want to do in life. There are two distinct paths that are given. You can make a choice. It's called Shreyaha, Preyaha. Shreyaha is the path of good. Preyaha is the path of pleasant. Now what is the difference? Path of pleasant, as the word suggests, is pleasant in the beginning. But it leads to enduring suffering, permanent sorrow. The path of pleasant. But it begins with pleasantness. It's easy. Like we said, anything destructive, self-destructive is very easy. It doesn't take time. How does a person start smoking? How does a person start drinking? It gives a kick. It's pleasant. It's enjoyable. That's why you start. Then you end up not able to give it up. And it's constant pain. Not only for yourself, but everybody around you. But once you get into it, it's almost impossible unless you put in effort. So the path of pleasant is pleasant in the beginning, but the problem with that is it gives you permanent sorrow. The path of good is that which is unpleasant in the beginning. It's difficult. It's almost impossible. But it gives you enduring peace and bliss. So he says, you can approach me in any way you want. You have a choice. But you must understand, whatever you do, you're seeking happiness. So if you take up to the path of pleasant, you don't get it. You keep on seeking, but you never get it. And you don't stop. Restlessly you continue. When we say that, even a grand old man has not found satisfaction in life. He's lived a full life, still not found satisfaction. So when a person passes, it's not that the person says, I've had a good life, thank you very much, I'm going. It's not that. There's so many unfulfilled desires. There's so many things that you want to do. Life ends. Dissatisfied. So you could approach the self. You could use the God principle in you to lead yourself into this path of pleasant, but only suffer. Or you have the choice. You take up this capacity to live, that consciousness that is enabling you to function in the world, to find the path of good, to take up whatever is beneficial to you and find your way to the self, the truth. This choice we have. And he says, whatsoever way you approach me, I satisfy them. Men tread my path in all ways, O Partha. So essentially what he's saying here in this verse is, everyone has a choice. You can never say, I wish I knew this. I wish I could change my life. You can change your life now, provided you want to do it. So what is important is the willingness to put in the right effort to set your life right. Next verse.
Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja.
They who long for success in action here sacrifice to the gods, for quickly indeed success is born of action in the human world. So now he's talking about, in this world, if you want to achieve anything, he says you need to sacrifice. If you do not sacrifice what? Your personal likes and dislikes, your personal preferences, you ought to sacrifice it at the altar of an ideal, a goal that you want to reach. See, when you see sportsmen, you watch it in your home, in the comfort of your own home, the sportsmen playing a game, they are sweating it out. They are tiring themselves. They play for hours. You are entertained. But do you realize how much they must do to achieve the status that they've got? And then they get a championship. After a long, long struggle, they get a championship. And they've got a name, fame, position, recognition. To get there, they would have had to sacrifice a whole lot to get there. Not only sportsmen, even a businessman, a successful businessman, he doesn't become successful just like that. It's hard work. Every day he has to put in hard work to achieve what he's achieved. So in any field, if you want to achieve anything, even in your own family, if you want to run your family successfully, you have to learn to sacrifice. If you're selfish, self-centered, even your family members will not get along with you. So anything that you want to be successful in, there's an element of sacrifice, without which you cannot achieve anything. So what do you sacrifice to? He says the gods. Now here comes a little bit of confusion. We say there is one God. Now why are they saying so many gods? Again, this was an ingenious plan of the sages of yore. They realized this human mind is so extrovert, it will seek the world. It will never seek the self within. So wherever the mind went, they planted gods and goddesses, so that even when you seek the world, somewhere there is a touch of divinity, even in the world, with the hope that someday you will ask that question, I'm worshipping this god or goddess. What is really the truth here? What am I worshipping? Someday it should ignite that inquiry. If that concept wasn't there, there would be no inquiry whatsoever. So that is why when you are seeking knowledge in the world, who do you worship? Saraswati. Even if you want wealth, you pray to whom? Lakshmi. Automatically you know the names. If you want success, Ganesha must be there, right in the center, must be there, successful. You go round and up and down, all that you do, for what? Only for success. But you must remember that God, that goddess. So these are the various gods and goddesses which represent your worldly goals and ideals. But even to get there, you need to sacrifice. So they who long for success in action here in the world sacrifice to the gods. They put their effort into achieving their ideals in the world. For quickly indeed, Kshipram, he says, indeed success is born of action in human world. It's not difficult to achieve success if you're sacrificial in the world. But to realize the self, even if you're sacrificial, there's much, much more you need to do. He's only drawing a difference. In the world, it's easy. But in the spiritual world, you need a lot more to get there. He continues.
Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaramapi mam vidhya kartaramavyayam. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaramapi mam vidhya kartaramavyayam.
The fourfold caste was created by me according to the differentiation of guna, quality, and karma, action. Though I am its author, know me to be the non-doer, immutable. So first of all, the self is talking again. The truth is talking. He says, look, I am akartaram. I remain akartaram. Like electricity is saying, I do not give light. The bulb gives light. I am not giving sound. It's the microphone that's giving the sound. But without me, there cannot be light, there cannot be sound. Says electricity. I am akartaram, non-doer. I am avyayam, immutable, changeless entity. One entity, electricity, that works through all sorts of equipments that manifest different functions. So these functions actions depend on quality, guna. And that is that fourfold caste system. So now, there's an interesting explanation given here. In the previous verse, he talks about outer actions. By sacrifice, you achieve this. But without sacrificing to the goal, you cannot achieve anything. And that I maintain. As long as you sacrifice, you will achieve it. You're granted because of your own self-effort. But what enables you to put in that self-effort is the self in you, the God principle in you. Now he's talking about the inner activities going on. What are the inner activities? There's the fourfold caste system, which is created by me according to gunas. There are 3 gunas: sattva, rajas, tamas. You can say A quality, B quality, C quality. And what is interesting is, everyone is a necessary combination of all 3. Nobody is free. So the most sattvic person will have traces of tamas, rajas. The most tamasic person will have some amount of sattva. So you are born with a particular combination. Now you have this opportunity, life, to convert the lower into the higher, from tamas to rajas to sattva, and then sattva cannot sustain itself because gunas exist together. And then you move into a trans-sattvic state, which is the state of your pure self. So the 3 gunas, do we have them? The 3 gunas are sattva, rajas and tamas. There you are. These are mental temperaments. Now, based on these mental temperaments, you will have to choose, first of all, understand where you stand on that graph of human development. And these masters gave it names for convenience. Now, what it has come to become is this caste system is by birth, which family you're born in. He clearly states it is by guna and karma. That is the caste system. But by a long lapse of time, we have lost the knowledge, we have lost the system. It is actually an intelligent division of work according to your nature. So if you're predominantly sattvic, you're prone to go into activities that involve education, understanding, thinking, planning. That is what you will gravitate to because of the sattvic content. If that is the class of the Brahmins, the thinkers. Then when sattva falls slightly and rajas picks up, they are the class of kshatriyas where they can think but more prone to act and protect for the welfare of all, the kshatriyas, the kings. When sattva still falls and rajas becomes predominant, you are prone to business and trade, exchange for wealth. That is the mentality. Let me get something out of what I do. That is the mentality of a businessman. This is a natural thing. Why? Because of rajas. Rajas is nothing but the desire-ridden activity. When you get into desire-ridden activity, you fall from contemplation, reflection. There's nothing wrong, but that is what your personality is all about. And when even rajas and sattva become less and tamas becomes predominant, because that class is referred to as Shudra. Shudra only means, it sounds terrible, it only means a person who can't think, who can't feel, he has to be given a course of action. He's forced to do certain things. It's laid down for them. So that, because they're incapable of thinking or feeling, there's an intelligent division of activities based on guna and karma. But today, it has lost its original meaning. So he's only saying whether the outer activities are functioning towards your goal or the inner activities which are based on guna and karma. I am the author. Though I am the author, I am akartharam. I don't do anything. I am immutable. One verse, please.
न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते.
Actions do not taint me, nor have I a desire for the fruit of action. He who knows me thus is not bound by actions. So, when you understand the truth, the reality, just as electricity, in a relative sense, electricity says, actions do not taint me. Now, light does not affect electricity. Sound does not affect electricity. But without electricity, there cannot be light or sound. So he says, these actions do not taint the self. The actions of a saint or the actions of a sinner do not affect that immutable, pure self in you. Nor do I have desire for the fruit of action. What comes out of a meditation in a saint, what comes out of a crime in a sinner. I have no desire for the fruit of action. There is no desire. He who knows me thus, he who knows there is a self, there is a truth beyond the quality of action, beyond these desires that are prompting the action. He who knows me thus will not be bound by action, even though he acts. So, there are different types of activities that one can perform. The most common, easy to understand is self-centered actions. When you act to please your own desires. I want to do this. I want to achieve it. This is self-centered actions. Better than self-centered actions, superior to self-centered actions are unselfish actions, where you act in the interest of a larger cause. It could be your family, it could be your society, your community, your country, it could be the world at large. These are unselfish actions, but the purest form of actions is selfless, dedicated actions. And those who find it difficult to understand what this means, just look at nature. You'll get your lessons. You don't have to go far. All of nature functions in a spirit of selflessness except the human race. Because we have a choice. We choose wrongly. The sun rises every morning and sets every evening. The tree gives wholesome fruit. The cow gives milk. The rose gives fragrance. The nightingale sings, not for an audience, not to get tickets sold for the show. It sings, whether you hear it or not. Every aspect. Why does it do it? Because that is what it can do. Why does rose give fragrance? Because that is what it can do. Why does the sun rise every morning and set every evening? Because that is what it can do. Every aspect of nature functions with selflessness except the human race. Therefore, there is stress, strain, worry, anxiety only among humans. Nowhere else in nature. So he's saying, he who knows me thus, that selflessness, is not bound by actions, not affected by actions. You will learn to function selflessly. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.